Kia ora, good evening. I've just had my dinner and I was just watching this Chinese man talking about how, basically talking about the Schuman Resonance and the creation frequency and blah, blah, blah. I'll, it's all there on my post. I'll put the link in the description box below, but, oh, yeah, I was saying, I don't understand what's happened. Like, all day, I've been sitting here all day thinking, what the hell's just happened? Like, something's happened to me and I can't explain it. And I feel different. And I feel released and I feel lighter and I feel healthier and my eyesight's gotten better. And I was thinking, is it because of my diet? Because I just recently changed my diet? And then listening to this man, it's like, oh, of course. I've gone through the death process. See, when you go through an ascension, remember I was talking the other day and I was saying about when you go through an ascension, you go up and down, up and down, up and down. And you keep repeating the cycles based on if there's karmic lessons you haven't learned, you'll keep repeating the same cycles. And when you get taken down to having to lay everything bare and strip it all out and let go of things and bring closure to your life and stuff, that's you going back into the underworld, which I did after I lost Amber. When I lost Amber, I went into the underworld because I've been so riddled with grief and guilt because if my ex-husband hadn't have done what he did, I could have been by his side. My sons would have had the privilege of knowing their cousin before she died. She never got to meet Thomas and Gabriel. Thomas and Gabriel never got to know Amber like that because Chris destroyed the relationship that I had with her. And I'm just so grateful that I got that last kind of almost year with her before she died so that we could fix everything. She said to me that when she was told she was dying, all she kept thinking was, I hope I can fix things with Auntie Debbie. And I said to her, you had nothing to fix. I said, what happened between us is all on Chris. Chris is the one that has been held responsible for what happened between you and I. And she said, I'm just so glad that I got to work things out with you before, I go. So when she died, I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to be the same woman. I'm always going to cry when I mention her name. In 50 years' time, I'll talk about her and I'll still cry. Because when she died, she took a piece of my soul. And when Chris lied to all those people to cover his filth and all the sins that he was committing in my name, with my identity, with my ideas, with his body, the way he's spreading his filth with men and women in his sex cult and all of that, when his lies tore me away from Amber, he triggered a death in me. I'm never going to be able to hold her again. I'm never going to hear her laugh again. And it's because of him. When he tried to kill me, he did succeed in killing me. He killed a piece of my spirit. He killed a piece of my soul that thought I had friends and family that would at least have my back, and nobody did. Nobody had my back. And the people that I thought had my back sold me out for a price. Other than my sister and 3 nephews, out of over 40 members of my family, just my immediate family. And coming to that realisation that the people who once claimed to love you, throw their arms around you, said they'd always be there for you, that they always had your back, that they were fighting in your corner, blah, blah, blah. When you find out that it was all a lie, it kills you. It kills the innocent part of you that thought that you had people on your side. And so when Amber died, she took a piece of me with me, because it's like I was saying to my sister Erin during her tangi. Now that Amber's gone, I have no connection to my family anymore. That's it. I'll never have contact with anyone in my family ever again, other than my sister Erin and 3 nephews, and my brother George. But he's not included in that. He was the smart one that knew to keep away. But it'll be 4 years in June since he tried to kill me, when he tried to kill my physical body. But he had spent since 2017 trying to kill my spiritual body. And in a way he succeeded, because I will never, ever, ever be the woman that I was before he decided to try and destroy my life so that he could take over it with his little sex cult. When you find out that the people you were married to, that the people you had kids with, that the people you've had Christmases with, that the people you put your arms around, broke bread with, slept under the same roof with, celebrated birthdays with, sacrificed yourself in order to help them, giving your time and your attention, and in some cases even lending them money to pay off debts and that sort of thing. When you find out that these people never had your back, that's a betrayal that kills you. But the thing is, as hard as what it is to go through, it's necessary. And this is why I've realised I've gone through another death process. Because when you're constantly dealing with the same kind of situations, I'm always, one of the last things that Martin said to me on the phone before I never heard from him again was that every relationship you ever have with people dies. You never keep friendships, you never keep relationships. Well, firstly, statistically, most people that you know, the relationships you have with them last between 5 and 7 years. Statistically, it's a phenomenon. It's a phenomenon to be able to have relationships that last longer than 7 years. If you have a relationship with anyone, whether it's platonic or not, that lasts longer than 7 years, you've got something golden. It's a statistical anomaly. Most people come in and out of your life within 5 to 7 years. Secondly, when you're constantly losing people in your life, it's because you're going through an ascension process and they've been removed from your life. And you know how they say rejection is God's protection? They're removed because I say rejection is ancestral selection. Your ancestors are saying, I have to remove that person because they're not good enough for you. And it turns out everyone that he was talking about wasn't good enough for me. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. What I mean was I was too positive. I was too high vibrational. I was too driven. I was too determined. I was too hardworking. I was too focused. I was too self-conscious. I was too self-respecting. And I was around people who were none of those things, who were making excuses as to why things weren't going right in their life, why they couldn't do the work, why they couldn't do the schoolwork, why they couldn't do the training, why they couldn't pay for the training, why they couldn't pay back the loans, why they couldn't call that day, like excuses, weakness. And that's what I say, I hate weakness. I don't like weak people. Brother Michael can't stand weakness in people as well. I get it from him. It's a God thing. God doesn't let us make excuses for being weak. And I can't stand weakness in people. You know, like the people that say they're going to do something and don't, the flaky ones, the ones who make false promises, the people who make excuses as to why they can't do something, the people who do things and then blame other people, people who don't take responsibility for their actions. Weakness. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, well, you know what I'm like when I'm angry. Oh, well, you know what I'm like. But no, it's no excuse. Every time somebody says something that they don't like about me or pull me up for, I sit and I think about it and I think, well, are they telling the truth? And if they are, and I have to admit that they are, I change it. I change myself. Or I look at it and I say, no, actually, that's wrong. That's an unfair assessment based on personal bias, or, that's just bullshit, so I won't accept it. But I do work on myself where I have to admit, because sometimes when people are pulling you up on your mistakes, it's not to be rude and disrespectful, it's because you're needing to be pulled up on your mistakes. It's not a criticism. They're not tearing flesh off you in order to torture you. Sometimes you need to hear the honest truth, but you have to be the one to decide, are they telling the truth or are they punishing you for unhealed hurts, and it's a projection. And you have to sit and you have to go over it and you have to think about it. And if it turns out they're right, then you have to change what it is about you that is an issue. Self-reflection is one of the hardest things you have to go through when you're going through an ascension, because it means having to be completely and utterly honest with yourself. Yes, I used to yell a lot when I was a mum, like when I was first a mum, because I was around a man who every time something didn't go his way, he would constantly threaten to kill himself. His go-to Well, I'm starting to wonder whether it's not Chris trying to mess with my phone. Sorry, I got cut off then. So his go-to thing was constantly threatening to kill himself. There were times we'd be driving in the car coming back from Andy's and we'd be having a fight. His boyfriend, Andy, in Derbyshire, the one that he nicked my book with, and he threatened to drive us off the road. He loses his temper very, very easily. And when he loses his temper, he throws and smashes stuff. And I was absorbing all of that, and it was around my children. And I had to really, really look at that behaviour. And when my boy came to me and said what he said about me losing weight, and it gave me that wake-up call, I changed everything about myself. And ever since I started losing weight back in 2015, I've never shouted at my boys since, other than like when it's come out of, because I was thinking about this the other day, when they knew that I was doing something really important with work that required concentration, and they would break my concentration, and I'd be like, oh my God, what did you do that for? Sort of thing. But that wasn't me getting angry. It's because what you need to understand, and if you're a high funk, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And I've spoken about this before. When you're in the creation frequency and you're in the zone, and you get pulled out of that zone with like a sudden loud noise or a distraction, it snaps you out of it in a way that your natural response is to snap or to jump or get get emotional. It's physically and emotionally painful when you get pulled out of the zone. And because my boys knew that because I was trying to figure out what it was I was going through, and that I was trying to work out biorhythms and quantum magnetics and all of that, they knew that if I was doing certain things, don't make a noise, don't make a sound, don't do this, don't do that, and they wouldn't listen. But they were kids, but they knew that I was working on something important that was going to have an impact in the future for a lot of people around the world. So it was, sometimes if you sneak up on a cat or a dog and they'll hiss or growl, or bark, it's just like that. When you get a fright, it's like when you get pulled out of the zone like that, it gives you like a spiritual shock. And your first reaction is to bite or hiss or bark or whatever. But I don't lose my temper anymore. I don't throw things. I don't yell. In 2015, that was 11 years ago. They're 17 and almost 16. So they've had the new me, the calmer, happier, healed me longer than they had the broken me, because the only reason why I was broken is because I was in a marriage with a man who constantly told me how useless I was, how dumb I was, how he wished he'd never married me, who wouldn't hold my hand, give me affection. The only time he wanted sex was after our marriage ended, and then when I wouldn't give it to him, he'd just take it, try and take it. I was with a man who controlled what I ate, what I wore, constantly telling me over and over and over and over again what a mistake I was. He even said in front of my children, I never wanted to get married, I've never been in love, and I never wanted to have children. And it's what I said to the police. I knew there and then my marriage was over. And when I ended our marriage, and this is why he punished me, because I ended the marriage, I said to him, I release you of your contract. I said, I don't want to be with someone who feels like it's an obligation to be with me. And he goes, oh, don't be so bloody stupid. And I said, I don't want to be in a marriage with someone who's not in love with me. I said, imagine finding out that your husband never loved you and never wanted to marry you or have your babies. How's that supposed to make me feel? I said, so I release you of the contract. And then a year and a bit later, I filed for divorce in 2016. The divorce was final 2017, and from then on, I've been trying to get away. So you go through a death process when you realise that everything you thought you knew about your husbands, your friends, your family members, your students, your clients, was all a lie. It's an ego death. I thought I knew these people and I knew nothing about them. None of these people were real. And I spent my entire life giving myself to these people and getting nothing in return. That's an ego death. And when Amber died, She was my final connection to my family. So the cord was cut. I now have no reason to be around any member of my family, because prior to Amber dying, if there had been a family function or anything like that, I would have only gone for Amber. But now that she's gone, I'm an orphan. I got my sister Erin, but she knows what I mean, because we had these incredible talks during Amber's tangi and when Amber was dying about how she was our last point of contact with the other members of our family. And now that she's gone, it's just her and I. She still has contact with them, but I never will, because what Chris and Martin and that did made me see the truth of how my family really thought of me. And that's what you need to understand when you're going through an ascension. When you go through your trial by fire, and it's a test to see who has your back and who doesn't. You go through an ego death when you find out who has your back and who doesn't. And it's a shock to the system when you find out those who didn't have your back are usually the ones that you gave most of yourself to. And, I've been saying, I don't know what's happened to me. Something's changed. When I had the frog dream with the frog spawn change and transformation and going through that emotional exchange with the storm outside the window and all of that sort of thing, like the dreams that I've been having, writing this Miss Amber's School of Alchemy and all that, is it my diet? What the hell's going on? It's all of it. I have just recently changed my diet. I'm eating a lot of probiotic food at the moment, and it's revolutionised. I feel incredible. I've only been on it for a couple of days, while I've been, when I got everything off my chest, when I brought closure to myself, where I wasn't getting closure from the people that I wanted closure from, and I gave it to myself, it healed me. When you're in this journey by yourself, it ends up being the most rewarding experience, because you learn to know yourself better than you ever thought you knew yourself to be before. I never realised how strong I was until Chris tried to do what he did. Finding out that he'd put this plan into action in 2017, and it's taken him that long to try and do what he did, and we're coming up 4 years in June since he tried to do it, pull off the last act. I don't recognise myself to the person I was from 2017 when he sabotaged my radio career. Remember, I was saying the other day in that message that I put out to my ex-best friend, and I was saying, when you'd call me up when I was in the shed at the spa in Wisconsin, it's because I was there to try and kickstart my radio career in Chicago. And Chris and Martin sabotaged the whole thing. But I didn't know half as much then as I do now. I've grown so much into my own now as an occult physicist, as a biorhythmic engineer, as an ascension scientist. I couldn't have given the listeners on my radio show half as much as what I can now. And when I get to Switzerland and set up my radio station, I'll be able to then give it all back. But so much better than I was when I was trying to put it out before, because of everything that I had to learn just to survive what they all put me through. I had to, and having to do my own police investigation, I learned so much about, psychology and crime and mind control, and which led me down the whole, the equipment that the government uses and the Schuman Resonance. And I learned so much just having to learn to survive and do my own investigation. It powered me up in a way that I never even thought was possible. I thought I knew stuff before, but my God, I don't think the same way, I don't act the same way, I don't carry myself the same way, I don't respond the same way, I don't think the same way, I don't know the same things, I know more. I look different, I feel different, I talk differently. My etiquette classes, my online etiquette classes, one of the best things I ever did was spend time watching etiquette videos on YouTube. I used to swear like a trooper. I used to drink like a sailor. I stuffed my face with sugar and all of that, and now I can feel every muscle in my body. I'm sitting here talking, and I can feel my abs. I can feel my stomach muscles and that just laying here on my side talking. And since I changed my diet, I feel amazing. And then that's when it hit me listening to that man. Oh, I've gone through a death process, and how I know this, I've gone into the underworld, all the crying I've been doing with Amber, and, like letting go of the grief that I was holding on to from losing my best friend, and just letting him know how much I loved him. I didn't want to die with those regrets. Don't want to die getting to the end of my life thinking I wish I had have told Jose that he was really truly like my best friend in the whole world, and that I loved him more than any other man I had in my life at the time, including my own husband. I didn't want him to think that our friendship didn't mean anything to me, so I had to let it out. I should have chosen my friendship over my marriage. I should have chosen my best friend over my fiance, and I didn't. I should have chosen loyalty to my best friend over loyalty to the man I was going to marry, who was going to leave me for pedophiles and child groomers. I should have chosen Jose, and I didn't. I didn't listen. Hence the karmic lessons. My lesson, this is why it's all come back around. Because I had to learn, I have to stop giving my time to people who don't appreciate or respect the amount of time and effort I put in to trying to establish a friendship or a contact with them. Getting ghosted and the gaslighting and blah blah blah, and I was still showing up every day trying to show my loyalty. I was still loyal to people who weren't loyal to me. Still, there are people out there in this world, I'm not going to name names, but if they're listening they know exactly who I am. I've saved them. I've saved their asses from death by my warnings, and I got thanked by being blocked. I risked being killed, saving people's reputations, who like I was put through hell, trying to save their reputations from criminal activity, and their response was to just completely ignore me. No thank you, no nothing. And yet I was still showing up and doing the right thing by being respectful to them when referring to them in public and all that sort of thing. Not realizing that if I didn't say anything, their whole careers and reputations would be completely destroyed. People would be turning on them. But because of me, they get to sail on like nothing's happened, and not even looking back and saying thank you. But I'm still polite and respectful in regards to mentioning them. There'd be people out there who wouldn't even be alive now if it wasn't for my warnings. And their thank you to me was by blocking me or ignoring me, not responding, not replying, nothing. And it's like, that's the lesson. Only give time to your people who put in time for you. That's the mistake I've been making my entire life. With my family, with my friends, with my students, with my clients. I was pouring everything I had into these people and getting nothing in return. And then when I needed them to have my back, when my ex-husband did what he did, they all chose his side. Because one thing you're going to find is that when you're going through an ascension and the trial comes, a lot of people in your life that are holding secret grudges against you will use the opportunity when you're down in the underworld to kick you while you're down. And that's the painful part, because they'll use that, their hidden resentment, their hidden jealousy, their hidden envy, their hidden hatred. They'll use that opportunity to bring all of that out. And that's exactly what happened to me. I found out that, people took pleasure in kicking me while I was down because they'd been holding on to things that instead of coming and talking to me about it, they waited until Chris did what he did to use the opportunity to kick me while I was down. But the test wasn't mine. The test was theirs, because when you show how fake and false you are, you're taking your mask off in front of God. Which means that you were fake and false. They were fake and false to you this entire time. So the lesson isn't yours. You're not the one being punished. They're the ones being exposed. All you have to do is pick yourself up, brush yourself off, take a deep breath and keep walking towards the light and follow in faith. As painful as what it is, it's better to know the truth of who these people really truly are than to waste another second of your time on people who are looking for the next opportunity to kick you while you're down. Do not be loyal to people who aren't loyal to you. That was my lesson. And then, of course, I've gone into the underworld. I've had to learn this hard lesson. And take the knocks and the kicks and the stabs to the heart and the stabs in the back and all of that sort of thing, while pulling all the swords out and sewing my wounds in that back up, just forward focused on what I knew it was going to get me at the end. Because my teacher said that when I recover from all of this and I get back up and keep moving, my blessings are waiting at the end. And for me, my blessing is my school. Every time I got knocked down, every time, how they try and mess with my phone and all that sort of thing, instead of giving them the reaction they want, I just keep moving, because I know in the end, because I know who's watching, I know in the end they all get held accountable for what they've done, and they end up having to pay me, and I can take that money and build the school. They will absolutely pay financially for everything that they've put me through. Unjust treatment. And they forget how many people are actually watching and who's watching. So every time my phone cuts out, it's documented and recorded and time-stamped. And they're now, from what I understand, they're now paying attention to what it is I'm saying when the phone gets messed with. And it's all coming back on them. It's all coming back on them. I even have screenshots on my social media of one of my boys coming to me and saying he's lost the plot and he's threatening to kill himself. And I was like, oh, so everything he blamed me for is everything that he's still doing to you, because that's what Chris does, you see. That's his go-to. Well, I'll just go and kill myself. Well, if I was dead, and when you live with that trauma for over 20 years, it's it messes with you. But what happened was I stopped letting him emotionally manipulate me, which is when he started becoming more physically aggressive and backing me into the corners, and because he's a lot taller than me, and he'd scream down at me with his gritted teeth and his clenched fists, and because I stopped playing into his manipulation, it started becoming physical, where he became physically threatening, using his size and, all of that, dressing with snakes and spikes and stuff all on his body, spiked shoes, spiked jewelry, spiked this, spiked that, the aggression. And I was released from it. And how I was released wasn't ideal, but God said, trust me, you're not going to complain when you come out the other side. And I'm not now, because of everything that I've become, having to survive it all on my own and doing my own police investigation. The stuff that's come out of it has just been phenomenal. I would never have learned all of these things or become what I am now, or have the jewels that I have now in terms of my future career and my empire, and that had I not gone through everything that they started putting me through back in 2017. Martin was my coyote. I met him in 2013 and got with him in 2016. He was my coyote. And I think he expected me to chase him. But I was so relieved when he left, because my life became peaceful and quiet again, so that I could focus on myself. He used to say to me he didn't like the fact that I was losing weight. He didn't want me to lose weight, because he likes to have the kind of control over women where they are depressed and angry and don't like themselves, because then he can keep his foot on them. And he didn't like the fact that I was getting confident and the other men were starting to look at me, and that I was working on myself in a way that people were starting to notice. And he became so jealous that he started, belittling me. Well, I could have 100 women to replace you. If I get sick of you or you leave, I could have 100 women to replace you, just like that. That kind of thing. And it's like, I had to really sit and think about, do I want to save my marriage? No, I don't. I don't want to save my marriage. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't want to save my marriage, because I don't want to be with a man that makes me feel like that again, because that's exactly how Chris was. So I've learned a lot. And going back down into the underworld this time when Amber died, and, the last conversations I've had with my sons, I was in there for a long time, but coming up out of the underworld this time and standing on terra firma in the earth stage, because it goes underworld then earth, this is how I know I'm getting ready to leave, because everything in your physical reality changes, including your diet. And that's what I realised listening to that man. My diet's changed. This is why I'm feeling so good, because I've just come up out of the underworld and now I'm in the earth stage of my ascension. So I'm on the rise again. Because even though I'm the ascension, I am the scientist that developed the science for the ascension process for the high functioning creative mind, high functioning creative empathic mind. That's my science, as well as quantum magnetics and biorythmic engineering. That they are the sciences that I am the pioneer of. Even though I know all of this stuff, you will always go through the ascension recycle process when you're not learning your karmic lessons, and when you're in situations that keep repeating itself, like, why am I reaching out to these people and they're not communicating back? Like, why am I putting all this time in and I'm not getting anything back? It's because you haven't learned your lesson. It's because you haven't learned your lesson. And my lesson is I give too much of myself to the wrong people. Once someone ignores you, never bother them again. Buddha. But I keep trying, because I keep trying to be the better person. And it's like, why? They don't appreciate it. So just move on. So that's what I'm saying. I've brought myself closure. I've gone through the death process and now I've risen again. But this time around, I've risen the strongest I've ever risen. Because now I have confidence and strength and self-respect. And my confidence has given me the kind of drive, because it goes underworld, earth, fire. And fire is your drive, your will, your determination, passion. So this time around, my confidence has given me the drive and the passion to say, I can go to Switzerland. I can do it on my own. I can absolutely do it on my own. I don't need a man. I don't need friends. I don't need support from anyone. I've got the people there who have never left my side throughout this whole thing. And that's my sister Erin and my nephew, my bestie nephew. And his name's William in real life, but I call him nephew. And his wife Portia and Jacob and Zion. They're the ones that have stuck by my side through thick and thin this whole entire time. My sister would take a bullet for me. She stood up to members of our family to defend me. And it turns out one day they're going to find out that they believed a sexual predator who was protecting a sex cult connected to child trafficking and child grooming. So that's all going to be on them. And that's the other thing you need to remember. Everything they do to you, where you know you are innocent, will always come back on them. And it says more about them than it ever will about you. So don't take it to heart. Don't think it's personal. It's just as much as a test for them as it is for you. What are you prepared to do in order to get what you want out of this when your trial ends? And my thing to the moon was in 2017, remove whoever you have to remove. I don't care who they are in my life, just get rid of them. If they're not genuine, get rid of the lot of them. That was the deal that I made, and that's exactly what the moon did, Father Moon did. That's exactly what God did. I asked for it. I got the life I asked for. Because the lessons from it, you can't put a price on them. And out of it, I have invented and created things that when the time comes when I'm able to actually invest the time and money into producing them and then selling them, will be worth billions. I could sell just a couple of things, like my gaming chair and my dating app alone, and I could be up there with Elon Musk in terms of how much money I'll be worth. And that's why one of the reasons why they all tried to stop me, because they know that once I get my foot in that door, I'll be stratospheric and they'll be left in the dust. Reputations destroyed. People will never show them any ounce of respect. They'll lose everything. So when you're going through an ascension, just remember, and I promise you with all my heart, I am the scientist, I am the pioneer of this science. It doesn't matter how hard it gets, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, use supernatural strength to push it all down and keep walking. Don't take your eyes off the prize, and whatever it is that you're wanting at the end of it, you will get it, and it will be worth it when you get it. You will not regret a single thing you were put through. And that it's better you know now before you were nothing than to have all these hangers on when you're someone, and giving your rewards like Little Red Hen style to people who never deserved it in the first place. A lot of the reasons why this happens is because, see, it even says in the Bible, basically what God says is, when you finish your ascension, right, not only do you come out of it with supernatural powers, but you end up being like the master of your craft. You are seen in the world as like a guru, as like the master. You will be respected and revered just like a Pope or a Dalai Lama or, whatever, and a Tony Robinson in the field of your profession, whatever it is, the field of your craft. You will be seen as the one, the master, the guru, the expert. So you have to earn it. And that means having to walk through the shit, having to pull yourself up out of the underworld zombie style, digging out of the dirt, because no one's going to dig you out of it. Pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, dusting yourself off, and walking towards the finish line. Don't take your eyes off the prize. Whatever it is that you're asking for at the end. I want to be a famous writer. I want to be a famous singer. I want to be a this. I want to be a that. Whatever it is that you're asking for at the end, you will absolutely get. You will be revered and respected in a way, and exalted by people in a way that will, you'll be remembered in history for centuries long after you're gone. That's what's promised. But it's only for the chosen. There are a chosen few that are offered it. But in order to have that, you have to prove that you deserve it. So what are you prepared to do to get the life that you deserve? You have to work on yourself. And you have to deal with the hard truth of the fact that 99.9% of the people in your life who are in your life when you start your ascension will not be in your life at the end of it, because you're going to find out exactly who these people are. And they are not going to be people that you're going to want to take with you going forward. I said to my students and Chris and all of that, if you just give me the patience and help me get to where it is I'm going, once I get there, I'll take care of every single one of you. I was prepared to offer these people jobs they didn't deserve and retire them into lives that they didn't work for, just simply for the fact that every now and then they'd chuck me a few dollars and pretend to listen in class. And I was prepared to hand them the world on a silver platter, and it still wasn't good enough. So what was I busting my ass for? You have to be honest with yourself. And after I had that, the last couple of conversations with my boys, and I had to think long and hard about some of the stuff they said. And some of it I took on board, and some of it I knew was utter bullshit. But there's only so much you can do. Don't try and change the minds of people who have made up their mind they don't want to believe you. Don't try and convince people of things about yourself, or don't try and convince people of a truth about yourself when they've already made up their mind. They're never going to believe you. You're just hitting your head against a brick wall. These people don't want to see the truth, so it doesn't matter what truth you put in front of them, they're never going to see the truth. And as painful as what it is, you have to be brutally honest with yourself and just keep walking, because these people aren't your flock. They're not healthy for you. If all they bring to the table is abuse and accusations and lies and slander and all that sort of thing, if that's all they bring, they're not healthy for you. They can't go where you're going. And my reality is, I'm not going to know anyone where I'm going. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it means I get to start from scratch. And once I get there, my sister's like, Switzerland, hell yeah. So I'll have my sister with me at least. She's like, hell yeah, I'll go to Switzerland. She's going to come to Norway with me too. When we want to go to that place that's always nighttime. So she was there with me from the minute I was born, and she's still by my side now. The one that we used to smack each other's heads in and punch each other's faces in, and she's been my biggest support and my greatest ally, my big sister, which is why she's in so many of my movies. And when this is over and I get my money from every single one of them that put me through it, the first thing I'm going to do is go home and see my sister and grab her and her boys. I'm going to retire them, put money in their bank. I'm going to pay for her to have the life that she deserves. So I will reward the people who prove themselves loyal. But I will never ever, from this day forward, be loyal to people who show no ounce of loyalty to me. So, yeah, my confidence and strength, man, that's why I know I've come up out of the underworld. I've come out of I'm always going to cry when I mention Amber. I could be living for 200 years, and when I talk about her, I'm going to get emotional. Because losing her, I didn't just lose a niece or a little sister, I lost a piece of my soul. She was one of the most important parts of my life in the 43 years that she was in it. 44 years that she was in it. But my strength and my confidence now is such that I don't care. I don't need a man. I don't need a protector. I protected myself. I'll keep protecting myself. I don't need false promises. I don't need laziness. I don't need gaslighting. I don't need friends that don't show up for me. I don't need any of that. I've got my sister and I've got Nephi. And I've got my nephews, and I've got a couple of friends, obviously, like Michelle and Maddie and all of that, but they've got nothing to do with what I've been through. I can do it on my own. So I've come up out of the underworld. I'm transitioning from earth to fire. Passion, drive, determination, will. Burning it all down. Like jet fuel. Burning it up to take off. And then it's water, emotional. I'm going through that as well, obviously, because I've been a bit of a tangi wero, but it's all part of the ascension process. And you'll keep going through it. You'll keep having these cycles. Every time you're not learning from a lesson that needs to be learned from. Once you've learned that lesson, you'll never go through that cycle again. And that was my lesson. I kept turning up for people who weren't turning up for me. I've been like that my whole life. It's like my mum used to say, you wear your heart on your sleeve and you let everyone take a bite. Well, not now. My heart's no longer on my sleeve. I'm stronger. I'm healthier. I'm confident. I have self-respect. I know my self-worth. I have my dignity. I have healthy pride. I have my ego is in check. I'm grounded. I'm logical. I use reason. I use doubt. I use common sense. I know how to compromise. My subconscious mind, my psychological mind, is 100% on point, proving every single one of those doctors wrong. So that's why my diet's changed. Because because that happens when you're in the earth stage. And I'm absolutely loving getting back. I used to eat a lot of yogurt back in the past, but because, not because of sugar. I gave up on sugar, but I'm having probiotic yogurt. And I've only been on it a couple of days, but bloody hell has it made a difference. I don't know if it's because it's like extra protein, but it's made a huge difference. I'm eating a lot of dried fruit, like dried prunes and apricots and dates and, okay, yeah, oh my God, fibre in that, but these, they're so unbelievably healthy for you. And when I want something sweet, they're the perfect thing to replace. When you can't eat chocolates and cakes and that, dried fruit are the perfect replacement. Now, I can feel every muscle in my body. My stomach, my back, my shoulders, my arms. I feel incredible. I feel mighty. I feel powerful. Physically, psychologically, emotionally, because I let myself go there. And that's what you need to understand when you're going through an ascension. Let yourself go through the motions. Don't stop yourself from feeling. Don't stop yourself from thinking. Just make sure that you do it all in a healthy way. When you're having your empath days or your down days, don't stay down there for too long. Pick yourself back up again, but don't stop yourself from feeling what you need to feel, because our emotions are a release valve. And when you hold on to your emotions, everything builds up and becomes toxic, and then it can take one little thing to trigger you, and then it's like a volcanic eruption. It'll just come out of nowhere, and it can become unhealthy if you can't control it. But if you allow yourself to just go there and not hold anything in, then you have nothing building up. There's no pressure. So when the tower moments come, you don't have a reason to explode, because you've let it all out, you're then able to return to logic, doubt, reason, compromise, common sense, blah, blah, blah. And it helps you get through it all. You're in control of how you react to any and all given situations in your life. And if you react using common sense, doubt, logic, reason, okay, I'm in this situation, there's nothing I can do about it now. This is what I said to myself when I got locked up. I have no control over this. The best I can do is just work on healing myself. And by doing that, I wrote the 2 books with a little help from my friends, and then they were gone. There were 7 women that I brought to Christ who ended up started going to church every Sunday, and I perfected biorythmics to heal from the anaphylaxis. So I just focused on myself with it in the back of my head: when I get out of here, I'm coming for every single one of you. I'll play the game until I get out of here, and once I get out of here, I'm coming for every single one of you. So don't think for 1 second like you're not going to get justice. Whatever's done to you during your ascension, you will get justice for it. God doesn't put you through an ascension for no reason. He puts you through it because he knows that you're the one who has the potential to survive it. Very few people finish an ascension. They usually give up and fall back down. That's what Chris did. He gave up and fell back down. Martin was the same. Martin was just starting an ascension, and then he got tempted by the vag, by the stinky vag, and fell back down. They all were on the brink of an ascension, following in my slipstream, and then they all fell back down. And once you walk away from an ascension, you're never offered again. Bloody phone's going like mental. Once you're only offered an ascension once. And when you walk away from an ascension, or like with Chris and Martin, when they were offered the opportunity to be my protector, when you're offered the opportunity to be someone's protector and you turn it down, you choose to go down a different path, you end up going on a descending path. Because the universe then has to balance it out. If you continue to ascend and the person chosen to be your protector turns down the opportunity, it means they're going in the opposite direction. So there's laws to all of this, and just know that what you're going through, there's always a good reason. And if you just accept it and pick yourself up and keep walking, the reward you get at the end of it will be worth every loss that you take. And I'm here, and when I get my radio station and that, I'll be able to talk you through your ascension process. I'll be able to talk you all through it. I had no one, because nobody understood what was going on with high funks until me. And me needing to understand what was happening to me, it made me the pioneer of the science. Not everybody is a high funk. It's only high funks that get offered the chance to ascend. Because they're the only ones that can withstand the creation frequency, because they're already in the creation frequency when they're writing, or whatever their craft or skill is, when they're in the zone creating what it is they're doing. They're the only ones that can withstand the frequency. For anybody else, it would drive them nuts, i.e. Donald Trump. You know how he's pretending to be ascending, and now he's completely lost his mind? You can't fake an ascension. The ascension shows on your body, which is why I'm looking younger and younger and younger and getting healthier and healthier and healthier, while he's literally rotting. You can't fake an ascension. You can't fake an ascension glow. You absolutely cannot fake an ascension. It shows on your body because of the vagus nerve. So I feel fantastic. That last bit of work I did on myself was it's like I've knocked something on the head. It's like So anyway, I had to put that out there. I'll put the link with what the man was talking about, but he was talking about the creation frequency versus the Schuman Resonance from a Chinese perspective. Well, I'm assuming he's Chinese. He could have been like Mongolian or Siberian or something. But that's when it hit me. Oh, I've just come out of the underworld, and now I'm in the earth stage, heading earth stage and fire stage. I hit water, went to the underworld, came back up, and that's why I've suddenly felt this need to drink apple cider vinegar again, and eat probiotic yogurt, and eat dried fruit, and eat, like, my fridge is full of vegetables. I have to pay through the nose. I pay probably twice as much with my groceries as normal people because um, of my gluten allergy, and I don't have sugar, and I have to get my proteins from other things because I'm allergic to egg, and so like, whereas some people will pay, you can pay as little as like 17-20p for a loaf of bread here. The cheapest I pay is £2. And if that bread's not in stock, I can pay £5 for 12 slices of bread. £5 for 12 slices of bread. So, and they're not big slices of bread either. They're not even like half the size of your hand. Having food allergies it makes for an expensive grocery list, and all I live on is fruits and vegetables and dairy, and but I've recently changed my diet in the last week. I'm not eating as much meat. I used to be a vegetarian for 20 years, but then when I started losing weight, I need the protein, and I do eat meat. I will. I mean, I had beef tonight. I had a gluten-free um, pie with like veg and cabbage and all that. It was so yum. But I do eat meat, but I'm not eating as much. Like, I'll go a couple of days a week now where I just have cheese and tomatoes on toast and that again. So I've stripped my diet right back, and it's just raw, healthy proteins and, fruit and vegetables and vitamins and minerals and probiotics and that. And I feel incredible. And then I've got my shampoo that I made myself and my skincare stuff that I've made myself. I feel incredible. And I did it all by myself. So it's like, I don't, I don't need a man. I don't need a man's help. I don't, like, I'm more than prepared to start a whole new life for myself by myself in Switzerland. I can do this myself. Chris tried to punish me by, I think, the damage that was done to my teeth, because he's vain, because appearance is everything to him. He thought that if he tried to ruin my looks and my appearance, um, that it would affect my confidence. But I immediately knew that it was God testing me to see how vain I was. Turns out I'm not vain at all. Because the thing is, I have a lot of men, some of them quite young, hit on me, and they don't care about my tooth. They don't care about, they know, like, they don't care. That at no point has anyone ever said, "Oh, what's happened to your tooth?" And then I don't want to say, "Well, my ex-husband poisoned me, and because I was a victim of domestic abuse, and he wouldn't let me go to the dentist when my tooth broke, and blah 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 blah." And then all my fillings fell out because he was secretly drugging me. Like, they don't care. I have men opening doors for me now. Um, all sorts of, like, when I'm out, on the rare occasion when I go out, they'll open doors for me. When I drop things, they'll pick them up. They'll, when I'm walking down the path, they'll step aside to let me go past, and I always say to them, "Oh, thank you, what a gentleman," And I've had boys a year older than my son Thomas, like 18, say to me, like, can I call you? And I was like, oh my God, no, geez, no, I've got pajamas older than you. Oh, I'd say to him, oh my God, no, you're like, you're not, you're my son's age. Gross. That sort of thing. So whatever it was that he was trying to achieve and making me feel bad about the way I look, it didn't work because the men haven't cared. I have, men say to me, you've got such a beautiful body. I say to them, shut up, I'm 53. I'm like, oh, gross. I'm not doing it to be looked at. Like, it's got nothing to do with being looked at. I mean, when I do eventually get into a relationship with someone, the one, the Moon King or whoever he's going to be, because at this point I'm pretty much convinced that the Moon King is literally just a character in my stories. But the fact that I would be with someone who appreciates the work and effort I've put into myself is going to be nice. And I've got to be honest, there's this man on Instagram who's been teaching people about Cajun English and Cajun French, the way that Cajun people talk in Louisiana. And I thought, oh God, I might need to get myself to Louisiana because that's quite a sexy wee accent there. It's made me think of a whole character for the movie. I was thinking I could have like a witch doctor or a shaman or like a voodoo doctor, a voodoo shaman as a character in the movie, and I'd make them from Louisiana. They could talk Cajun or Creole. I mean, Creole. Meeting a man who was Creole, I mean, that would be a bit. I'd just make him talk all day just so I could hear his accent. Listening to this man talk, it's like, oh my God, I could listen to that all day. Because he's talking about Cajun and, how people from Louisiana who are Cajun and Creole, they still speak French in that and they speak like a French English. And I thought, well, that's kind of hot. But he inspired me for a character for the movie. I just don't know whether I want to make him the good guy or the bad guy. It's just that when you're talking about like New Orleans and the southern, when you're dealing with voodoo and all that, they're always made like black magic and like Yoruba and all that. It's all black magic and chopping heads off chickens and all that sort of thing. And I don't necessarily want to represent voodoo that way. Voodoo isn't all bad, but I don't know. I don't. What I'm basically trying to say is, I want an excuse to find someone from Louisiana who's Cajun or Creole to put in the movie, because I want an excuse to like hear the accent. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So I'll invent a character just to have the accent. But the other thing I thought was with Otisha, whoever does the voice of Otisha could be Cajun or Creole and not necessarily African. That was the only other thing I thought. But anyway, so I'm going to go because I'm going to make myself a yogurt drink. And and then I'll go into keto. Have my yogurt drink and go into keto. And then, I'll speak to you later. So, wow, I mean, God, I document everything and put it all out there for anybody else going through it so that they won't internally drive themselves nuts trying to figure out what the hell's happening to them. I'm giving you the answers. I'm leading by example. I'm going first so that you don't have to be the one to go first, because the one who goes first is the one who gets the most shit. We become the biggest target because we're the ones who step out first. So in 10 years' time, when everybody knows my story and I've built my school and my movies have been made, anyone going through what I've gone through won't go through it as bad, because the world and the mental health industry and these countries and all of that are going to understand the process better, and so they won't poison you and try to kill you, because they're not smart enough to understand the process of a high functioning creative mind. They'll finally get it because I went first, and because I'm going to get justice for what was done to me, for the racism and the, my human rights violations and all that sort of thing. They won't make the same mistake twice, because they'll learn by my example. The mental health industry and law enforcement and all that. I'm their lesson as to why they can never do to me, to anybody else ever again, because they're going to pay for it dearly. Hundreds of millions I'm going to get from this, because it's coming from so many people, not just like my ex and that, Sumo Digital, West Yorkshire Police, the FBI, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, the whole lot of them. They're all going to pay for what they've done. NHS, they'll all have to pay individually, which will accumulate into hundreds of millions. I guarantee you. The last time I know that they did this, the woman got 200 million in her lawsuit. The daughter, when she sued them for what they did to her mother, when the father, basically the same thing. The father accused the mother. She got locked up, and she ended up dying. And it turns out what the father had accused her of was all a lie. So he'd made it all up to get rid of her, because that's what a lot of husbands do. There's this phenomenon going around over the last couple of years, because it's in my investigation, of men wanting to teach their wives or their ex-wives or their girlfriends a lesson. So they call the cops and make up lies about them, so the cops will lock them up in hospitals to be psychiatrically evaluated. Like it's a whole thing. Like it's an actual thing going around. And one of the nurses in the hospital knew it too, Marie. She's from Mauritius. When I was sitting talking to her one day when she had to supervise me using the phone to talk to my babies, she said to me, "Oh, I know what's going on." She said, "You don't even need to tell me." She said, "Your ex has made up lies about you to get you locked up, to make you look bad so that he could get the kids and get away with not paying child support." I was like, bingo. She knew straight away. She was the one who demanded that they get me medical treatment after 3 months of me asking for help with my skin rotting. When I took her aside, because she wasn't on every day, she was only on like once every few days. And I took her aside, like I had a fever. I was having to hold myself up against the wall because I couldn't hold myself up by that point after 3 months of asking for medical treatment and being denied, while also being starved and force medicated. And I took her aside and I said, "Can I show you something?" She said, "Yeah, sure, what is it?" And I said to her, "I need help, can you help me?" And I lifted up my belly button and all the pus was sticking to my shirt, and I only had toilet paper between my skin and my shirt, and I pulled it away, and she goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "What the F have they done to you?" She's like, "No, this is unacceptable. No, no." She was furious. She went storming into that office, and then, like 2 days later, doctors came down. And then it was 7 days after that, they did a swab. And then it was 7 days after that, they gave me cream for it. because I can't take antibiotics. I'm allergic to all the antibiotics. So they had to give me antibiotic cream, only because it was my sister that said. My sister got onto them and said, because she's a nurse, she knows all this stuff, and she said, give her whatever it was they gave me. And I was on it for 2 weeks. It still didn't clear it up, so I had to go on it like, oh. And then they gave it to me in little cups because they couldn't trust me with the tube, just in case I might cut myself, even though I had no history of cutting myself or anything like that. Ugh. Anyway, I'd offer her a job. There's a couple of people there, um, Sally Ann, Marie, Sammy, and Jody. I would absolutely love to offer them jobs. Say, come to Switzerland. Come and work for me. That'd be so funny. Jody and Sally Ann stuck up for me. I'll never forget them for that. And Tracy, of course. Tracy defended me as well. Tracy was brilliant. I gave her such a hard time, but she had a close relationship with my sister, so yeah, Tracy as well. But with Sally Ann and Jody and Sammy and Marie, I would absolutely offer them jobs. So they were so happy when they found out I was getting let go. They said we couldn't even understand why you were in here in the first place. Because I had an evil ex-husband who never got over the fact that I ended the marriage and refused to put up with being abused, which is this lesson. Because when you're giving yourself to someone who isn't even respecting you enough to give you the time and effort back, that's abuse. You're putting up with abuse. Being gaslit, being ignored, being disrespected like that, you're putting up with the abuse. So it's like, this is, this closure that I've bought myself. You can only reach out to people so much without a response before it gets to the point where it's like, what are you doing? You're torturing yourself, and they're abusing the situation. So why are you doing it? Why are you still, trying to be the better person? Just walk away. That was my karmic lesson. And now that I've learned it, I've come up out of the underworld again. My diet's changing. My eyesight's gotten better. And I'm rearing to go. I'm quite happy to do it by myself now. I wouldn't even be scared. The old me would never have thought in a million years that I'd be rearing to go to start a new life by myself in Switzerland, because the old me couldn't even leave the front door because of agoraphobia. I just don't leave the front door at the moment because I've got nowhere to go, and because of the last attempt that was made on my life, and finding out that they were saying if you see her, hit her with the car, sort of thing. It's for my own safety. It's not that I don't want to, but I've got nowhere to go. All the places I want to go to is like, I want to go to the beach. I want to be able to go for walks in the forest again. I want to be able to, go for walks and have a cup of tea and all that sort of thing. And because I don't drive, I don't have access to these things, so where am I going to go? I've just accepted the process. This whole thing with X, with so many of us around the world not having access to X at the moment, it's like I'm not bothered by it because it's like it's part of the process. I can't control it, so don't bother. Just focus on making your little videos and write your movie, make your little notes for yourself, find an excuse to find someone who's Creole or Cajun, and just focus on what's going to be at the end of it. So, yeah, I'm loving every minute of it, to be honest. So I'm going to go. So now you know. You've got your answers. If you're going through the same thing, now you know. Now you know what to do, eh? And now you know the process. So I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.